All right, so first off, I know I said I wouldn't disappear again, and I disappeared for a few months, but this time I'm back, and I mean it. I have a few projects in the works. I'm sorry for disappearing, but this time I'm here to stay. But I wanted to actually thank you guys because recently I reached 500 subscribers, which isn't a lot to most people, but it is to me. Because before I had to wait months to get just 2 subscribers, but now I've gotten over 90 subscribers in the last 28 days, which I would like to thank all of you for making that possible and for all the ones that share my videos, subscribe, like, and comment. That all boosts me and make me bigger as a channel, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, I've been busy playing some games and some college stuff, but now I'm back and I'm gonna make sure I lock in this time. And today we're going to be talking about horror games and more in particular the sounds that make those games so terrifying and makes you tense while playing them. And I want to go into why that is and just explain that over the course of this video. Before we properly begin, I have to ask an important question. When you're playing or watching something horror related, what would you say scares you the most? The design of whatever the threat is, the possibility that it could be real, the concept of whatever the entity or threat is a part of the series, the gore or overall brutality? Well, for me, the scariest thing is always the sound. The sounds scare me, which might be an insane thing to say to some, but it's true. Let's take a look at Silent Hill 2. In this game, you're not in constant danger, but I feel like I am. There's so many random sounds like the wind and cloth near a window, the creaks and metallic sounds around you, and purposely menacing growls or groans or even sensual moans. All of these sounds scare me. It's the scariest thing. Pyramid Head? No, that guy's a pussy. I'd win. All the bugs? Well, bugs creep me out, but in this case, no. But the gurgling and creaky sounds as you walk down the hallway or turn a tight corner, that's true fear to me. But what's great is that it's all intentional. You're meant to be unrealistically bothered by these sounds, but there's also more to this. Sounds that are as if someone is speaking, except it's hard to properly understand what they're saying, as if they're communicating or threatening you. It sounds otherworldly, uncomfortable, and sometimes downright sickening. You can hear this multiple times across the town of Silent Hill, which makes you feel in danger during dark areas. The last thing I want to bring up about this example is the radio. If you have the option on, whenever you're near certain enemies, the radio will begin to make noise. The closer you get, the more distorted and hard to hear it is. This doesn't work on all threats, but for the ones it does work on, it's still going against you. The radio makes it hard to tell exactly where the enemy is, and immediately makes you on edge because you know that something dangerous is lurking nearby. I keep the radio on, not because I find it helpful, quite the opposite. I find it distressing. This is easily the horror game with the best audio design I've heard in years, and it never fails to make me uncomfortable, unnerved, and honestly, like I don't want to keep moving. As if the next turn I make or the next decision to open a door, there'll be something around that I just don't want to run into. Before I get to my next example, I have a confession to make. I like the original Five Nights at Freddy's. The sound design of this game is why it became so popular in the first place, and it's why I like it. It ticks all the boxes and then some. Just listen to the audio for a second. Now, tell me, did you catch that audio cue? I'll play it one more time just in case you missed it. A part of what makes FNAF sound design such a marvel to experience is that there are sounds like this that are just meant to confuse you. They don't indicate an animatronic's movement or their location. They only perform as a red herring to make you uncomfortable, a creepy sound to make you read into it way more than it deserves. These noises are masked by the fan, able to add onto your stress without even meaning anything. There's a good chance that someone who's played it before didn't even know that this sound doesn't mean anything to the gameplay. It's only meant to stress you out more, and the subtle noise underneath the fan is what sells it perfectly. This isn't the only noise like that, though. There's multiple noises generated by Freddy, or even Foxy's iconic dum diddy dum 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 hum that he does, doesn't mean anything. It's only to distract the player and stress them out more and make them think about the various scenarios that could be occurring, even though there aren't any. Now, I want you to think about all the sounds in the office and think about how important they are to the game. The fan is the loudest one, but there's also the pipes, the different creaks, and These sounds are diegetic, as in they're just the sounds the player character are able to hear themselves in a universe, which immerses you into the world and also distracts you from the other noises you should be paying attention to, like the footsteps from the animatronics or the different noises that they make, like the pans and the kitchen signifying that Chica is in there. The non-diegetic audio cues are the sudden sounds like the impact noise whenever Bonnie or Chica appear, or anything like that that the player can hear but not the character they're playing as, and they only serve to intensify the horror, like in a movie when a sudden jump scare occurs and a little violin sound plays. Stuff like that is meant to affect the viewer and have no impact on the actual character in the plot. Just like certain songs, unless they're from obviously like a boombox or anything like that. Five Nights at Freddy's is also iconic for incorporating the distorted voices thing that I mentioned before in Silent Hill 2. Like Freddy's laughing, a distorted sound meant to make you wonder about his next move, to make you unnerved and uneasy. And there's also sounds like clips taken from movies for the iconic jump scare screams, and it goes beyond even the pure terrifying sounds and goes into more uncomfortable feeling sounds. And I'll give you the perfect example of that, and a keen viewer might have been wondering this whole time why I'm playing the game with just the door closed and wasting as much power as possible. But that's so I can show you the sound perfectly so you can understand exactly what I mean. Now, obviously, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to play a jump scare because I don't want to do that to anyone. Honestly, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But the entire point is that notice how during that entire time you're meant to feel on edge, and there's a good chance that if you're watching this and you know what to expect, you probably were. The noise of all the fans and everything just suddenly going off perfectly emulates the fear of knowing your last line of defense is gone, taken from you, and now you're at the mercy, at the will of the animatronics, and your only hope is that the 5 a.m. magically switches to 6, and you can finally escape the nightmare. But it never comes. And the music starts playing, and that uncomfortable, childlike creepiness comes crawling right back to you and gripping at you. And that's the fear that Five Nights at Freddy's captures perfectly. Now, let's move on to the next. Little Nightmares is a very atmospheric horror game. The game itself isn't very scary, but the sound design makes you uncomfortable to where it can be to the point of fear. I've played this game with many people, and most of them have told me how it's still the scariest game they've ever played. In Little Nightmares, you're playing as Six, a child on a ship with a bunch of adults trying to kill her. The reason sound design is so crucial to this game is because every sound is so defined. You're able to recognize the source of most sounds, like with waves impacting the boat, or the horns, or the squelch of meats on the ship. Everything from Six's footsteps to the pipes and random noises caused by the ship or its residents, it all helps you feel so small and helpless, and that feeling builds up until you get that reminder that you're not alone. You are being hunted by everyone else that is much larger than you, stronger than you, and can sense you in different ways, whether it be by hearing or smelling. They will find you if you don't move and get out as soon as possible. And this tension, this feeling builds up, and it generates the fear that Little Nightmares has throughout the entire experience. And one of my favorite things about the sound design is that a lot of it adds to the storytelling of the game. a lot of people might not even know that you're on a ship because it doesn't tell you at the beginning of the game. The game tells you nothing at the beginning. It doesn't even tell you how to play. You have to figure out the buttons, how your character moves, the different things you're capable of, all on your own, which is exactly what 6 is feeling right now, and I love that. I had to figure out that we're on a ship because of the sounds of the waves and the different environments that we see and the swaying of the boat, which you can hear so perfectly in the audio. And that right there is one of the perfect ways to tell a story throughout the environment during a horror game. But it doesn't just stop with the diegetic sounds. Another component of Little Nightmares Fear is from the music. During tense moments, you can hear this track that plays very often throughout the game, but gets more intense the more you hear it. And each time it's unsettling, creepy, and chilling. BioShock is one of the most iconic and beloved video games of all time, and for good reason. It's a game where you're far from defenseless, which makes the combat not exactly something to dread, but something to enjoy. Unless you're low on resources, of course. But even though this game isn't very scary, the sound design and ambient noises definitely can make you uneasy while wandering the captivating underwater city of Rapture. You can hear the deluded ramblings of its former residents, spliced up on drugs all the time.
Mom's gone. And Daddy too. Wait. This is happening before and none. Oh!
You can hear different fractured pieces of the city's architecture, or even certain things like the merchandise, which sounds innocent enough on its own, but in the context of the game and the creepy surroundings, then it sounds pretty creepy.
My daddy's smarter than Einstein, stronger than Hercules, and like the fire with a snap of his finger. Are you as good as my daddy, mister? Not if you don't visit the Gatherer's Garden, you aren't. Smart daddies get spliced at the garden.
You can hear the isolating sounds of the ocean surrounding you, really highlighting the fact that you are alone, except not really. Your ally Atlas speaks to you from time to time over the radio, although I can't imagine knowing your only friend is speaking to you through a radio as a reassuring thought. Alarms will sound if you fail to hack something like a safe or a turret, or if you're spotted by one of the many cameras, putting you in the sense of danger, as in, I have to quickly get out of this scenario, or I'll be surrounded and possibly killed really quickly. One of the most terrifying sounds you can hear in BioShock is this one.
That's the big daddy. She got it on him. He keeps her safe.
The footsteps of a Big Daddy. These beings will stomp their way throughout the city, warning you of their presence. And this is one of the many sounds in BioShock that, as soon as you hear them, you know you're in danger. And this feeling is escalated in the sequel BioShock 2 whenever the Big Sister screeches and you know you only have a minute to prepare before she attacks you. And in both of these games, a huge element of it is preparing for whatever danger could be lurking around the next level or area of the city. And the sound design of this game is a part of why it's so beloved. The music choices, the sounds that the enemies make, everything is so perfect. The different sounds that the plasmids generate or the injections alone, everything serves to make you uncomfortable as a player because the entire setting is dark, twisted, and a horrible place to live in, or an even worse place to survive through. And, well, that's Bioshock, summed up perfectly. And that's one of the many reasons why I love the game and why it stands the test of time even to this day. And if you really haven't played Bioshock, you're missing out, and I recommend you play it as soon as possible. But let's move on to the last example for the sake of this video. The last game I want to talk about is another game I love very much, Dead Space. Dead Space is, without a doubt, one of the greatest horror games of all time, and I won't get any pushback from saying that. The environments and lighting are amazing for adding to the isolating horror that you experience throughout the USGH genre, of course, but the sound design in Dead Space stands out a lot. The necromorphs produce sounds that imitate a human crying out in pain, which is perfect from a lore and gameplay perspective. The different broken parts of the ship will make various noises of different volumes to always keep you on your toes. Whenever you're ambushed by an enemy, the sound that plays
Help me in with them. Come on.
Trust me, there's nothing like it. Playing this game way after midnight with your headphones on with the perfect audio and it's really dark and your room is closed in, it's the perfect feeling of immersion. You get immersed in the game, in the story, the world, and you get to see all these horrific monsters come at you, and there's nothing that thrills you more. And I know I sound a little insane describing this, but I genuinely mean every word. Dead Space is some of the best sound design I've ever heard as well, and I love it so much. It all adds to the tension and the horror that this game produces, and it's unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this before, and I'm amazed that I'm able to witness it. And I'm so glad that this game has opened up to a lot of more players because it was free on PlayStation Plus, and this remake is so accessible that almost anyone can enjoy this game, and I recommend that you play it if you haven't already. Isaac Clarke, the protagonist of the game, grunts and swears in the middle of combat, immersing the player and strengthening the sense of danger. Isaac is panicked, and so are you. The talent that Gunnar Wright brings to the table is really impressive, and I'm so glad they decided to give Isaac a voice in this remake, just like he does in Dead Space 2 and 3. Because hearing him swear and worry about the danger and everything that comes at him really just feels so realistic and authentic that it makes the player feel as if they are Isaac, or at least are along with the journey with him, which is the best thing that a horror game can do to immerse you in the world. Another thing this game does well to sell the world to the player is all the futuristic sounds that they employ to really make the technology and the impact of everything come to you. And another thing is, it has some of the most tense moments in any video game for me. Like, just take a look at this example for when the lights shut out, and it had some of the most impressive sound work that you'll ever hear from a game. Trust me, listen to this.
Hazardous anomaly detected. Quarantine activated.
everything about this moment, from the screams coming from the necromorph being slowed down perfectly with the stasis, to the different sounds of the weapons that as they cut through the enemies and burn them, everything is perfectly balanced to make you scared and also impressed. Everything has weight to it. Everything has weight to it, including Isaac's iconic stomping animation and everything. Everything about this game is so well designed and well crafted that you'll be amazed as you see a bunch of blood go across the screen. It's somehow horrific and beautiful at the same time, which might also sound a little insane, but I'm telling you, I'm only saying this from a place of artistic and creativity. But that will be all for this video. I thank you all for watching this, and I hope that some of you were impressed by the games that you've seen today, and you take a look at them, especially smaller titles like Little Nightmares, or bigger titles like Bioshock or Dead Space, which are iconic, but even then, a lot of new players are just getting into games probably haven't played yet. And don't let these being horror games stop you from playing them, because like they're not that scary for the most part. Only a few of these titles, like in the horror genre, are actually scary. Little Nightmares, for example, isn't terrifying, but it is a well-made horror game, which I believe deserves more credit than it gets. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support I've received on this channel recently, and I hope you all stay tuned for my next video. And I hope I'll be able to keep creating content for you guys in the future. And yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for all the stuttering, by the way. I stutter a lot when I speak. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, guys.